Hi, everyone. Welcome to Disruptive Conversations. It is Thursday at noon. Today, we are going to be talking about eating disorders, anxiety, depression in the journey of Danielle Sherman-Lazar. And we're waiting for, oh, here she is already. Here she is, and she sent a request. I'm viewing the request. Danielle, we're doing great here. Uh, Go live. We're waiting for the buffer. By the way, this is Danielle's first Instagram live. Very excited. Let's see if the buffering is happening. Come on, come on. And every week we talk about positive change, how to bring positive change into your life. And I'm not seeing the buffering yet. Perhaps we need to do this in another way. Here, let me see. I'm going to accept that. All right, I think this is another way for us to get on and get this going. All right, we're waiting for Danielle. And on our Thursdays, we join together and talk about positive change. Positive change can happen at any point in time, and there are things that we can do to bring about the change that we're looking for, and that's what these conversations are about. So we are waiting for Danielle to come on, and one of the things I'm super proud about is the number of people who have come on the show who've never done an Instagram live before. And so we're a space of support, understanding that things can happen and we need to be patient, keep ourselves regulated during this period of time. And we all have that. We all have these moments where it's so easy to become dysregulated and then our thinking becomes abstract. One of the things that I do, especially with people that I work with, is I have a snow globe and you can shake up the snow globe. And so what happens is that when we start getting agitated and our thinking goes kaflooey, when our feelings get upset, we can't really think clearly. And we need to wait and have things settle so that we're able to think clearly and really be able to move on with our time. So I don't know how your Thursday is going. At my house, I have my kids have flown in. We have a family wedding this weekend, and my house today is like a WeWorks. And there are people working and on computer in all different parts of the house. And so here we are. We're making it all work. The dogs are having their absolute best lives, getting all of this attention. As I'm writing my book and I'm working on chapter 6, it's really coming along. One of the important pieces about chapter 6 has to do with how we accept and not accept ourselves. And particularly as women, the easy target in many respects has to do with our body. And there's something that has been called objectification. And objectification is when what we think about is not about how we feel about our bodies, but we're thinking about how other people see our bodies or how we think other people see our bodies. And we're trying to get into the space of acceptability. I had a conversation with some people last night, some women last night, and we were talking about how the expectations and cultural expectations, depending on fashion and what's happening in the world, how women's bodies are supposed to look. And so many years ago, there was a model called Twiggy. And so you can imagine what that body image looked like a twig. And that's in contrast to a long time ago, the Rubenesque from the painter, painted these like voluptuous, curvy women, and that was the look. Then we're supposed to look like a twig. Then we're supposed to have curves. And then at one point in time, there was something actually called heroin chic. Could you imagine that? Heroin chic. that heroin and chic should stand side by side, and what that meant in terms of messaging to women. And so it's always been this kind of notion of what you're supposed to look like. And at that point, you're supposed to pivot and make it happen. And now with the, and now with the advent of body positivity, we're working on having a lot more space of women feeling and knowing and believing that it's completely fine to really have the body that you have. Physical health is really important, and having the idea that the body I have is the body I have. I'm a petite woman. I am never going to be 5'8" and, and have that kind of length. It's not how I am. It's not how I'm built. And so being able to say, this is the body that I have. I'm going to work to make it healthy and strong and take care of myself is really the space that we need to be. And I remember working with girls as young as 8 years old who were already noticing differences between their bodies and the bodies of others. And so referencing, they're referencing, I need to send Danielle a request. Can you tell me how I do that? Okay. How do I send her a request? That would be great. If you can let me know how to do that, Carly. I've got my, Carly is my person on board here. Thanks for, okay, here we go. Right. Okay. Okay, I'm going to click the camera and then.
Hi.
Hi. Oh
Finally.
my gosh, you're here.
Yay.
Yes. Yes. Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay. So here we are with with Danielle. Women persevere, and here we are. We've persevered. I have one of my dogs barking in the background. She's so excited that we're on.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So without further ado, welcome to Disruptive Conversations. So I'm going to be introducing the show, introducing you, introducing myself, introducing you, and we're ready to roll. All right. So welcome everyone to Disruptive Conversations with thought leaders, authors, innovators, influencers, in which we deep dive into the experiences that these women have had and needed to conquer in order to have achieved the personal and professional success they have up to this point in time. I'm Dr. Risa Reiger, clinical psychologist, and I'm an expert in change. I help people make positive change at any point, and that's the good news. Positive change can happen at any time, but in order to make positive change, you need to disrupt. You need to disrupt a thought, a feeling, a behavior, a belief in order to create your 10.0 life. That's what these conversations is all about. And to help us on that journey of really creating our 10.0 lives, I am thrilled and delighted to welcome Danielle Sherman-Lazar. And so Danielle, I'm going to read a little bit of it because she's got a lot that she has accomplished. She's a social media entrepreneur and mental health advocate. And she is on Facebook and Instagram and has over 400,000 followers. And when people are following you, there's very good reason for that. And she has had decades of battling eating disorders, depression, and anxiety. Those oftentimes go together. And in addition to that, in addition to being an author, and she has picture books that are absolutely beautiful, she is also the mother of 4 girls, and she lives in northern New Jersey with her husband and 4 girls. And I'm thinking that particularly as a mom with 4 girls, what you're talking about in your own journey is particularly important of what you're looking out for. So first of all, Danielle, welcome. And you're on your first Instagram Live. We're all here to support you.
Yay, we made
Of
it.
course we did. We persevered. So is there anything that I didn't mention in your bio that you would like us to know?
No, that was perfect and very generous. Thank you.
All right. So, Danielle, what is it that you needed to disrupt in yourself in order to have created the personal and professional success you have at this point in time?
So I needed to disrupt basically everything.
Okay.
I needed to disrupt my inner people pleaser, the person that never thought she was good enough, the person that cared about everyone else's opinions but her own, the person that never thought she was enough, that was a perfectionist. And that happened when I hit rock bottom when I was 26 with my eating disorder. I came to kind of a crossroads, and if I was going to ask for help, I made a vow to myself that if I was going to ask for help, I was going to change everything about my life, or I wasn't going to, I was just going to let myself die at that point because I was that depressed. And that's what I did. When I asked for help, that's where I changed everything.
So, it just for us to have more perspective, if you could, when did your eating disorder begin? I know it's hard to put a date to it, but maybe there's something that comes to mind for
Oh,
you.
yeah. Yes. So my eating disorder started the summer going into third grade. It was actually my first summer away from my parents. I went to sleepaway camp, and it wasn't about weight. It was about comfort, and I missed home a lot. And to cope with all my feelings, my anxiety about, I think, social anxiety, a little bit of just a new place anxiety without my parents or anyone I knew. I started limiting my food intake. So it started then.
Yeah. So that there were things that were happening that were out of your control.
Mm-hmm.
Feel you couldn't, really have an impact on because you were a little kid. You were a little kid.
Yes.
And I think it's so important that people hear this, and I'm highlighting this for everyone. For anybody who thinks that eating disorders start in the teenage years, that is not necessarily the case. And women in particular, girls can go there very early on. And so third grade, it really lets us know how early this happened with you. And so what happened during this period of time from third grade when you left camp
Mhm.
until 26?
So after I came home from camp, it was kind of like every summer I would kind of go back to that pattern. But when I was home, I was comfortable. So I was eating regularly. So my parents weren't worried. They were just like, oh, she's a picky eater. She lost weight at camp. She's okay. But the summer going into seventh grade, that's when everything changed because I started going through puberty and I saw my body, and I went into camp thinking, okay, I want to lose weight this summer and I'm going to keep it off. And that kind of continued, that kind of behavior when I got home. And then when I went to high school, I started kind of getting into binging and purging and all that stuff through college. And then it got really bad. It was just really bad when I was in my late 20s. It turned to just like different phases. And I had therapists, but I wasn't serious about getting the help. And I never admitted to myself out loud that I had a problem. And there were things that were caught by my parents, but it was also a different time where they didn't, we're very fortunate right now where people are very open about their problems. Back then, when I was growing up in the 90s, it was more like looked as like eating disorders were considered like a superficial choice. It wasn't considered like an illness. So it was just very like shameful. So it was a very secretive thing. Um, so I never totally admitted it to myself or was ready to get the help until I was 26. And I think what was really different then is that I almost died. Um, I was alone in my apartment, and I was very, very sick at that point. I was very depressed. Um, I felt different. Like, it was my first time binging and purging in a while, and I felt like something was off. And I was sick all night, and I was getting into, I was debating in my head. I was like, okay, like this is your time. You're gonna die. And I was really okay with that. But then there was a little part of me that was knew it would kill my parents. But had such low self-esteem at the time that I kind of didn't see anything becoming better. At the last second, I decided, okay, I'm gonna get help. And it was 5 in the morning. I texted my parents. They came and they got me. I went home. I was going to go to a residential facility, we decided. My mom's like, okay, if you're going to get help, we need to start getting you eating because I was tiny. I was very sick. So she made me a sandwich. I remember I was about to eat the sandwich. I had it in my hand. I think I took one bite and then everything went to black. So I had a seizure. I woke up in the hospital, and thank God I did contact my mom because I don't know where I would have been if I had a seizure in my apartment. Maybe no one would have found me. So it kind of ended up being kind of like a blessing.
That's extraordinary that you're calling this a blessing and that you one of the things that happens with people is that they go, oh well, the past is just the past, but that's not really the case. And so that when you have your past, the important piece here, which is what you're talking about and what you're doing and why it's so important that you're here today with me talking and with us together, is that it's it's not just about what happened, but what you take with you
Yeah.
afterwards. That you're looking at having a seizure, that this was a blessing for you because it really got you the help that you desperately needed to have.
Yeah, I was also in such a bad place that I either needed to, I told you when I thought something was not right, like I felt like something was not right. So it was either, I really did vow to myself that day, like I was either going to get help and change everything because what I was doing my whole life up until that point was not working. I was not happy. I was not healthy. It was just not working. So I needed to literally disrupt my whole self
Yes.
and just be a totally, or just really, honestly, I was afraid to be myself. So just really just to be me and just to not have shame and just to, just live life and not try to be everyone's perfect person, you know?
Yeah. And what was perfect for you? What was your, if you can repicture this, what did perfect look like?
I think perfect for me meant like I had to be like a straight A student. I had to be successful, like how society says is successful, like have a great job of like work in some sort of business and be successful that way. I just felt a pressure to do everything very well. So I wasn't living. Like I was just like, I had to excel at my job and I had to excel. I was just very, very hard on myself.
Well, you didn't get that way on your own. And there's a lot of messaging that happens. And when we talk about perfect, and this is something that I'm in the midst of writing about, that perfect is one of the things that like makes the top of my head explode. That there perfect is perfect is absolutely the road of suffering,
Totally, 100%.
right?
Didn't go very well for me.
Well, the reason why, and it wasn't about, this is what you were experiencing, but it wasn't about you. The reason why is because perfect doesn't exist.
Exactly.
And it's like, well, this is, the messaging, and especially when you're a young and impressionable kid, right? Is that you're supposed to be this way and it's supposed to be that way forever. Like once you hit that plateau, like there you are and you're imperfect. But perfect doesn't exist. And so it's like keeping going after something that doesn't
Yeah,
exist.
the problem because no matter what you do, you'll never feel enough. So you're always in your mind, you're always failing. And that also like fuels
Mhm.
someone who has like an eating disorder. It's like, I'm never enough. No matter what I do, I keep failing and I'll never get to be enough. And that's just, you're chasing something that doesn't exist.
And so now, you have this times four with four girls at home.
Yes.
Uh, and so, how is it that you decided to bring your path and your journey into the public domain?
So it actually happened before I had kids. So right when I was going through my recovery journey, I decided to, remember I said I was going to change my life. I did think there was a reason I survived after all those years of abuse, and I didn't want anyone else to go through what I went through. So I didn't want anyone to feel alone. So I started living full to make other people realize that they're not alone in their battles. And so I started writing about recovery. And then when I had my babies, I realized mothers also feel alone in our journeys. And also, I just fell in love with motherhood. So I just started writing about motherhood, and that just became evolving. So I write about now mental health and motherhood.
It's reminding me, I was thinking about us coming on today, and I have two daughters. They're grown. And I remember my first pregnancy, it's like everything's going well. I felt good and all that sort of stuff. And nobody wanted to leave, like everybody was happy where they were staying. Nobody wanted to get out and be out in the world. And so I had a C-section. And I remember talking to other moms, and I was like the less than person because I did, according to like the looks and like then the silence, like I did having a baby wrong.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. It's so crazy. Yeah. I came to know there's so much shame in motherhood too, and there should not be. There's no right way to be a mother. And I think that's what makes me a good mother at this point is that I really don't care what anyone thinks. But it also took me a while to get there too. I remember with my first pregnancy and my first time being a mom, I was a different mom than I am now.
Hmm. Well, we're different, both as human beings growing up with, wherever we are with our family, we have different parents, right?
Hmm.
I mean, they're the same parents, but they're at different stages in their lives. They may be going through different, like economics, work problems, a family where there are people who are ill. And so we each have different parents, and especially when we have siblings, we each have a different parent at that point in time.
Yeah.
How do you think that's worked for you in terms of your children and being able to not have like the bees buzzing in your ears about what you're not doing and being able to feel more confident and be you as who you are as a mom? How's that?
Yeah. Well, also too, like I was saying, I think that definitely took some time and some learning. As a first time mom, I kind of felt like a sponge, like everything my mom or whoever I looked up to as a mother said, like, oh, this is wrong and this is right. I'd be like, oh my God, I have to do this way. I have to do this way. And I had to, it was like, you have to breastfeed. And if you don't breastfeed, you're not a good mom. And I mean, that's the messaging. It's not true. Trust me. Um, and basically, by the time I got to my third child, I
You were too
actually,
tired.
no, I actually, yeah, I probably.
That helped.
No, I remember. So, like, you feel so much pressure to do certain things, and I remember with my second born, actually, I had trouble breastfeeding. So I pumped with my second born 14 months, and I hated pumping. I hated it so much, but I felt so much pressure, so I just kept pumping and pumping. And my first three girls, I had them. It was three under three. So I was in the hospital, and I just gave birth to Julia, and I just started crying. And my husband's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna pump and take care of two little babies at home. And I don't know how I'm gonna do it all. And he's like, so don't pump. Use formula. It'll be fine. And I was like, you know what? Like, I was a formula baby. I'm fine. Formula is not a terrible thing. So actually, after pumping for 14 months, Julia, my third born, is a formula baby from the start. And I enjoyed it so much better. And so it was better for me as a mom to be there for my kids instead of pumping. And you know what? It just ended up being better for our family. But I like learned in that moment that just because it's what society thinks is better doesn't mean it's better for my family. And I think there's just been so many things along the way where I literally, especially now that I have four, I have no judgment. We've been through like probably every little thing that could like possibly go wrong or thing that we could be judged for. And you know what? If you love your kid, you try, you're a great mom. That's just my theory. And however you do that, like I know it's so funny because my mom was like, if I had a nightmare, I would sneak on my dad's side of the bed because she didn't believe in co-sleep, like any kind of co-sleeping. She would send me back to my room. And I wake up in a full bed of kids. So I think we just all do it differently, and there's no shame in that, you know? And if someone's saying something to you about or judging you, that's on them. That's not about you.
These words that you're saying, and you say with such conviction now, a clarity, and and commitment to what you're saying. This was a process to go from being that pleaser to saying, no, this is what I need for me, and what's good for me is ultimately going to be good for my whole family, and putting yourself into the equation.
Yes, and definitely a huge process, a huge learning curve, a huge letting go of just everything that I thought. And just like, yeah, just like a big learning curve of what's important too. I think also when you go through like something traumatic, like I feel like with my recovery and things like that, like I just realized what was important and what was not, and what kind of like I was seeing the world totally wrong.
And when you're going through recovery, and I'm so glad that you're using the word recovery, because it is an illness. An eating disorder is a disorder, it is an illness, and your whole biology goes off, and your thinking changes. Everything changes inside of you. All of your chemistry changes also. So this is really, it's not, it's not a little something. It's really, really important.
No, it was honestly, it was the biggest battle I ever had to do. It was the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life, harder than having babies. It was so hard because it was entrenched behavior. So many years of behaviors that I had to change. And it was just, it took time and it was so hard. And I relapsed, and, it's been a journey. But you become better through these hard things, and you learn, and you become more empathetic. You just become a better, stronger person.
Well, you're taking a takeaway from what you're learning, and you don't stay in that moment of the past and just getting stuck there or avoiding it. That you're pulling out, and this is part of what this brilliance is in what you're teaching and sharing, is that you're pulling out what happened, and obviously it's very serious, and making it what you've learned from it and how you've been strengthened.
Yeah, and I think I was stuck also for so long. I think I was stuck for over 2 decades. So I felt like, and that's something I teach my kids too. Like I'm always so scared. One of my girls has terrible anxiety, and I get so scared because she's always so afraid to do everything. So I always push her because I don't want her to be watching on the sidelines like I did. I don't want her to be stuck. And I won't let her be. So I'm empowering her young. She goes to therapy. We're working on it. She's actually at horse camp right now. Um, so she's working on everything. She loves horses, which has been lovely to see.
It's a great space, and horses can be very therapeutic. There's
Yes. Yes.
whole line of treatment that involves horses.
It's like the first thing that she actually wants to do because of her anxiety. It holds her back from we've tried so many things, and this is the first thing that stuck. So it's like been lovely to see.
Yeah, you don't give up. You keep trying to get
No,
there.
no, you got it. We're gonna keep trying.
Exactly. Exactly. So you're a young kid, eating disorder, anxiety, depression. You decide to start talking about your journey and your path and what you've learned, and have 4 kids and social media, a social media entrepreneur. Can you talk a little bit, tell us about that?
Well, that's how I decided to start helping people. I started writing and I publicized it on my page, Living Full. And that's how I was kind of talking to people about recovery and everything like that. So I really got into writing, and then I started submitting articles and just like helping people through that and just hearing people's experiences, and it's been such a blessing.
That's it's a lot of people who need help. If there was one message that you would like to get out, I mean, and you think about this because you're with your kids, you have tremendous experience. If there's one message that you would like to get out, what would that be?
About what topic? Like mental health or?
Mental health. Mental health.
Okay, mental health would be that you're never alone in whatever you're going through. Um, you will get better. You can get better, and you're worth it. And your recovery journey will be worth it. And that's always like literally whatever you're going through, you are not alone because I know how alone you can feel in that moment.
Alone is alone is a tough spot, and alone can be an illusion.
Yes.
Right. And so, Danielle, I knew this would happen, and it does, so that we're coming off, we're coming to the time that we need to wrap up. So, what is your next disruption?
My next disruption. I don't know. I mean, I feel like a disruption for me is that I write a lot, but I've always had a fear of public speaking. So I feel like this could be my next disruption because I'm trying to talk more. But I feel like we're also trying to, we're always disrupting things about us that we're learning, and then we're always changing. And I feel like my kids are always disrupting me in a good way.
Right? Because when they disrupt us, and I get disrupted, parenting is forever. I can tell you that parenting is forever. And that when we get disrupted, that we need to try to pull from the best of who we are. And if we can't find it, then we need to build it and pay attention to that. So I just want to first thank you so very much, and to underscore that your next disruption just happened today here, because this was your first Instagram Live.
That's true. It did. So thank you for helping me.
So I'm so thrilled that we were able to have this disruption for you together.
Me too.
And so now the next time somebody says, well, hey, Danielle, Instagram Live, and you can go, well, yeah, I did one.
Like, yeah, I'm a pro. I just couldn't get on.
I did that. And and I want to thank you for sharing this very personal time. And as you're talking about shame, that the way we get out of shame is to shine the light.
I agree.
And shine the light. You're enough, and you're not alone. And so thanks so much. We need to take our cover shot. So if you're ready to do that, we'll take a moment. And one more. And everyone, know that if for any reason, if you missed listening in while we're on the live, or if you know someone who needs to hear it, you can find this Instagram Live posted on my Instagram. It will be on Danielle's Instagram. You haven't missed your opportunity. There's a lot that you need to go back and listen to again. And so here I am with this amazing disruptor. And remember that positive change can happen at any point in your life. You're never too late. See you next week. And remember that I've saved a seat for you. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Bye.